This is Jamie Wall, former Cork minor and under-21 dual star. On June 25th last year, he played in the Munster Intermediate hurling final against Tipperary. 3 days later, his life changed dramatically.
I got out of my bed to try to get up, and I remember my legs kind of planted and then buckled, and my head hit the floor, and I just, that was the moment lying in the ground that it kind of really just dawned that something was just really, really bad, and something was really amok, something was just, that was the time that the fear hit really strong. And I remember I've never been as scared before or since in my life as at that very moment, when the legs buckled and I hit the floor. Eventually I made it to Beaumont. I was taken for an MRI and under the emergency table in the early hours of Sunday morning. I had an infection which had started in an actual graze or a cut in my arm, the root of which I don't know and nobody knows, but I had an infection that got into my blood and developed an epidural abscess on my spine, up around T6, be kind of the middle of the spine, and that caused a compression on the spine. So it was just kind of grinding and putting pressure on the spine and doing damage to the spine, obviously. And that caused, the effect of paralysis and loss of sensation. And I suppose that was the diagnosis. That was what had happened. So I had a spinal laminectomy, and removal of, the infection of the abscess, and was treated with a course of antibiotics for the infection. And just kind of, in terms of prognosis, my prognosis was no different to an awful lot of people who have spinal injuries, in that, there is no hard and fast guarantees. No doctor is going to tell you will walk again. No doctor is going to tell you by the same token that there's absolutely no chance you're going to walk again, because there's so many variables with every case, and every case is so different.
So I get the impression that you haven't given up in any shape or form, not alone to walk again, but indeed to play for Cork again, and to resume what was your life up to June last year. Yeah,
maybe. I mean, look, the day you give up on yourself, who's gonna keep fighting for you if you give up on yourself, And I haven't given up on walking again. Okay, maybe my odds aren't what I'd like them to be, but so what? If the odds were 1,000 to 1, you'd take them. So my attitude is, like I said, is to keep fighting, keep going along, and and also live in the meantime. But to keep taking that path. If that means someday getting out of my wheelchair and walking without a crutch, great. One thing leads to another, and who knows, if you get to a certain point, you're always going to want to push. It's like anything else. When you play sport, you always want to get to the next level. Like, if you play with your club, you want to play with your county. You play with your county, you want to win with your county. You win with your county, you want to win all stars. So the way I see it, look, my life has changed, but my goal orientation hasn't. I always want to take the next step forward, and whatever that may be at any given time, that's what I want to do. So
the challenge match on Saturday night between Cork and Kilkenny is a fundraiser for you. Are you looking forward to that?
It means the world to me. I suppose you always just think sometimes, I'm sitting home, or I'm at home in bed, and like I said, you have the good moments and you have the strong moments and the weak moments, and I'd have a weak moment and I think, what am I doing? What am I, what am I insane, And then you hear about, people in Galway organising a walk, people in Navan, people in, people all over the country, GAA people who aren't GAA people, just people in general, and people want you to do this, and that's what inspires me, is the level of support I've gotten from the large group I've gotten it from. And in terms of the GAA, I mean, look, the GAA has always been my family. Like, you know, I grew up in County Meath initially, and you know, I went to Leinster finals, wore my green and gold. You know, went to the '96 Meath Mayo game where there was holy war. You know, I grew up wanting to be Colm Kyle. You know, so and then came down to Cork and decided I was sick of being Colm Kyle and I wanted to be Joe Dean. You know, so since I was that high, you know, the GA was everything, and it's amazing to think that, you know, I invested so much of my life in it, but when it all hit the fan, you know, the GA was there to back me up, you know, and that's why as a child that young you love the GA, because there is that sense of, you know, that sense of family, because, you know, when a member of your family is down, you pick them up. And I found that from Cork GA and from the GA in general, you know, from Clare GA, from Kilkenny GA, who've been amazing to me, not just with this match, you know, in terms of All-Ireland final tickets last year, and, you know, Ned Quinn and the lads, you know, so, you know, like I said, it's part of a much wider GA family, you know, and for that I'll be eternally grateful, you know.
Are you optimistic?
Am I optimistic about the match?
About Jamie Wall and from here on?
Jamie Wall will survive, and in whatever capacity that is, that's what it will be. But, you know, that's what I want to be. You know, I want to survive, and I want to survive in the best capacity I possibly can. And, you know, I don't feel like giving up. Even, you know, right now I'm optimistic, but I don't feel like giving up the days when I am pessimistic too.